Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back for another Full Dry Mom video. Hopefully you can hear me over my outside noises right now. I think those are cicada. We're gonna talk all things health. I have recorded many videos in the past that for whatever reason I actually haven't put out to you guys. Something always stops me. Man, there's a lot of corruption and fear and craziness surrounding our food system and our health, and it can be heavy. But I am going to do my best today to talk about a big long list of things like salt, gluten, folic acid, meat, what kind of milk you should drink, seed oils, letting you know that's half the list. I know that the diet landscape, or your food that you're preparing for your kids, the landscape of that environment can be so overwhelming. Like, guys, I get it. I'm a homeschooling mom with 4 little kids and I'm preparing all the food. It can be so overwhelming. But what I have to say is you can do it. God will give you the grace. And I'm just being honest. Right now, it is one of the top 3 most important, I don't know what the other 2 are, but like, I'm guessing, right? It is one of the most important things that you can do with your time right now. Like, if you're a mom that says, I am committed to raising my kids, doing it well. I want to prepare them for their future the best that they can. Like, this is on that list of things that absolutely has to take top priority in your life. It must matter. There really isn't any way around it. We have all collectively had to wake up in this world where you feel like the word poison is just being thrown around all the time, and it's almost lost its a sense of shock because everything is poison anymore. But just because everything is poison and we hear it all the time doesn't mean it's actually not the truth. Like, oh boy, we are being fooled in America into thinking all these crazy things about our health. And all you have to do is look around you and go like, hey, no one is healthy. People are not feeling good when they're eating the standard American diet. And are these recommendations that are coming from the different systems we're supposed to trust in this world, like, do they actually make any sense? Are they actually trustworthy? And so I will try to not go too far down too many rabbit holes. I would like this to be enough information that you feel like I can take my next step in the right direction of feeding my family healthier foods, because it really, really matters. Like, we are in a crisis in our kids' health in this nation. Just to kind of encourage you that this stuff matters. The obesity epidemic is up so high that they are trying to get children as young as 6 years old able to be on lifetime injections of Ozempic, which is a drug that was designed in Norway. I believe that's the country that makes it, is not the United States. And right now the government and the creators of Ozempic are lobbying to have this drug put on a list of things that Medicare must pay for. It's a drug that we in our country pay, I think it's 70% more than all the rest of the countries because of the laws that we have in place that don't properly regulate those things. So it's a drug that costs $1,500 a month. It's a shot that kids get. And the way it works is it cues your desire to feel satisfied and full so that people aren't overeating. But unfortunately, there's a lot of side effects to it, and you end up losing muscle as well as fat. And it is absolutely not any sort of a fix for a child, because God designed us to be naturally full when our bodies have enough nutrition. So, you know, a lot of what is happening is with the obesity epidemic is that when people eat food that don't have enough nutrition in it, our body doesn't say, hey, I'm full. And you mix that with information like, okay, the makers of cigarettes purchased some of the big, this is back in the day, they purchased some of the big companies that made processed food, and they took their scientific workers who their job was to make cigarettes addictive, and they now put them on the job of, please make our food as addictive as you can because we'd like to sell more of it and we want people to eat more of it. So example would be like Doritos. The first Dorito you eat, like, I know this, right? I don't eat Doritos anymore because they have MSG in them, which is monosodium glutamate. I think that's how you say that. But at any rate, I used to eat them. They are delicious, okay? Let's not talk about it too much or we're all gonna be craving Doritos. You eat that first Dorito and it tastes to you just as delicious as the very last Dorito that you eat. And I don't know how you would get yourself to stop, but I would have to literally take all of my self-control to be like, you can't eat this next bite. You can't eat, okay, this is your last chip. This is going to pay so much attention to it. It's the last chip you're gonna eat, and then you have to put the bag down. And I would just know that because I would inherently know, like, there's nothing in a Dorito that's doing me any good. I'm eating it because I really like the way they taste. They're so delicious, but I have to stop doing this, right? Well, let's trade that out with a steak. How does it go when you eat a steak or some sort of protein-rich food that you really like, okay? That first bite you take, I really like steak. So that first bite that I take of steak is so delicious. It's so good. I love ribeyes. I love the fat on ribeyes. Did you know that there are vitamins A, D, E, and K in the fat of animals that you cannot get from combining any other vegetables? And there are things inside of meat that your body cannot make on its own that are essential to life. So it's so important to have protein in your diet. So anyway, and animal fats. So, okay, I'm taking my first bite of this. It's really delicious. As I start to get more nutrients from the steak in my body, my satiety mechanism, which is the hormones in your gut that tell your brain, stop eating, we're getting full, start to kick in. So I can't overeat on steak. I can eat and eat, and at some point I'm like, I don't have to tell my brain all those things about stop eating the Doritos. No, at some point I just go, oh, I'm so full, I can't get any more, because of how God designed our bodies. So to bring that back to things like Ozempic, I mean, this is really terrifying. Your body is telling you to continue to eat because you simply don't have the basic nutritional components coming into your system that you need to sustain health and life. So that's why people are able to overeat when they eat ultra processed or junk food, right? Foods that are on all the middle of the grocery store, right? Well, what Ozempic is doing is making you feel full sooner so that you don't overeat. But your kids, the people that are doing that, they don't have the nutrition that they need. Like, they are not getting the right amounts of minerals and nutrients. And furthermore, let's just talk about how people become overweight. Like, overeating obviously is a huge part of it. So everything I just explained. But sugar turns into fat. Like, that's how your body works. Excessive sugar literally turns into fat. And some crazy high percentage of all the diseases in America that we are dealing with come from your metabolic health. So your body's ability to regulate your insulin level affects everything in your life. And when you have dumped so much sugar into your body that your body can't even regulate its own insulin level anymore, that's when inflammation goes up, and that's when the cascade of all these terrible diseases that people are put on lifelong medications for start to occur. I had a daughter who had cavities in every corner of her mouth. This was over 2 years ago, even in some permanent teeth. X-rays, here's the cavities. Within 5 months' time of changing her diet, guys, I went back to the dentist and got new x-rays, and all 4 cavities were gone. No trace of these cavities. I myself have had quite the health journey of just being like barely able to get out of bed and function and take care of my kids. Major migraines, headaches 4 out of 5 days of the week, pain anytime I ate like anything. Brain fog, couldn't remember, couldn't finish sentences. So much pain in my body. I have pain in all my joints. I am just a mess. I am dealing with this bizarre depression that has nothing to do with anything spiritual or not keeping track of my thoughts, just all this. And it would like lift by 2 o'clock. It was so weird, okay? I am 37 years old, the healthiest that I've ever been in my life. I have Lyme disease as part of my past. Just crazy, right? And I'm not on any medications. I didn't do it through doctor's interventions. I did it through the wisdom that God placed in this earth all around us in the food. And I did it through God revealing another truth and another truth and another truth. And I mean, there are pockets of so many people starting to speak out about this. And it's very amazing to watch what used to feel like this fringe conversation that hardly anybody knew about. We really are starting to hear more people talk about it. And so hopefully that's just going to be more encouraging, that more people will be able to wake up to this. So let's see. Let's talk about some specifics, unless I didn't finish my thought process on Ozempic and food and sugar. So every time that your insulin level spikes, your body stores the excess sugar in your fat tissues. And once your fat cells all around your body that you can see are full, it starts to put it on your organs. It's very, very bad. Here's a really good analogy I heard the other day. I don't remember the sizes, but it's like, maybe it was a 2 liter, maybe it was a can of Coke, it doesn't really matter. Soda, because there's corn syrup in there, there's liquid sugar in there, you're able to consume a massive amount of sugar. In comparison, you would have to eat, it was like 18 oranges. You would get sick. You would never eat 18 oranges, but those are the sugar comparisons. And so, you know, on a daily basis, consuming all these things that have such excess sugar, never mind the fact that, you know, the kind of sugar that it is just disrupting other systems in your body. And, you know, we could talk about seed oils first, which feels like one of the hardest things we've had to remove from our diet. I'm just going to be honest with you, because seed oils are in everything. There's the hateful 8. Let me see if I can name them. Cottonseed, rapeseed, soybean oil, canola oil, vegetable oil, I think safflower and sunflower, maybe that's the 7. So the only oils that we do in our house are coconut oil, olive oil, and we try and find a pure olive oil. The best advice I've found is to look on the bottle and see if it's from one origin. So, you know, if it says like made in Greece, that's more likely to be unadulterated and be pure olive oil. We use extra virgin, but that's more likely to be getting what you're actually paying for than if it's like, oh, it was made in China and Italy and somewhere else, right? So that's how I pick out my olive oil. We don't use any, and we use like beef tallow. Sometimes that would be another acceptable oil. And like I've said, we've been on this journey for years and years, and I am so happy and so healthy and so grateful, and it doesn't feel hard anymore. It does at times, but just from my day-to-day life, you know, it's like anything that you start out at. It takes a lot of effort and time in the beginning for you to learn all these new skills and figure out what you're going to feed your kids differently and come up with different solutions for, you know, we send our kids into church Wednesday night, Sunday morning with Lara bars, because having them try and make these on-the-fly decisions of like, is this snack good for me? Is it not? My kids absolutely know how to do that, but just from the emotional standpoint, or from the standpoint of like, and the workers having to, you know, it was just a lot. And we realized, hey, this is going to be so much easier if we just say, hey, this is what our kids are allowed to have. Like, they're not allowed to have the snacks, and we send them in with a Lara bar, and a Lara bar is treats to them. Those are kind of pricey, but Sharp Shopper, if you have one of those in your area, will at random get them in for $1.99, $2.99 a box, which is like an 80% discount. So we will stock up on those when we see them in Sharp Shopper, and we save them for like special occasions. It's just dates and a couple other ingredients. But, you know, like decisions like that, or, you know, every single store you go into, like, they want to give your kids something sweet. Oh, can they have a lollipop? And I would feel bad. That person behind the counter is not trying to be mean. They have no malevolent heart that's like, oh, I want to give your kids something that's going to rot the teeth out of their mouth and cause them to have obesity and heart disease and da-da-da, right? No, they're just trying to be sweet and generous and love on my kids. And there's one location that we go into that, I don't know if you follow, like, I love to thrift, right? So we go into this Mennonite-run thrift shop out in Amish country every time we go to pick up our raw milk. And for the longest time, I would just feel so bad every time I had to tell them no, because they ask, can they have these? Oh, no, thank you. And then after a while, it just, you know, when you do hard things, it's not that the hard thing got easier, it's that you got tougher and harder. So now I'm like, no, this is the right choice. Like, oh, no, thank you. No, oh, no, thank you. We don't do sugar. Like, to even just say, oh, no, thank you. We don't do sugar. I would feel so bad, or I'd be like, you're a hypocrite. Sometimes you do have sugar, like, da, da, da. Whatever. That's the easiest way to explain. Like, no, we don't. Yeah, they have sugar sometimes on very special occasions. That's not every Tuesday because we were in a thrift store. Like, that's not a special occasion. And it can be hard to stand up if you have strong-willed kids. It takes them a while to adjust to all these things too. But if you keep putting one foot in front of the other, you will be so well pleased. And the more that your eyes are opened, the more knowledge that you have about the truth of these situations, the more you will feel completely and totally empowered to just keep bulldozing ahead, feeling like a pioneer, because you absolutely are in many cases. You know, there's not an army of people surrounding you that are like, yeah, we're doing the same thing. So seed oils, it basically meant that we don't eat things from bags or that other people have prepared, because they all include seed oils. Like coffee creamer includes seed oils. Ice cream includes seed oils. I'm trying to name the bizarre things that you would never think. Like we can't even get a chip that, I mean, now slowly things are starting to come out, but we just started figuring out other ways. Like we are a taco loving family. We would do taco bowls and I would do tortilla chips on the bottom, and that was what we did. Well, guess what? We can either pay like $8 for a tiny bag of chips that nobody really even likes, that don't have seed oils in them, or we can spend $25, go on Amazon. I have a cast iron tortilla press, and then I buy masa corn, organic masa corn. Again, because of where we live, the only place I can find it is on Amazon. So I buy that Red Bob Mills a 4-pack, and I worked it out. I'm like, this is obviously way healthier, but then also more cost effective than us doing like maybe the chips that don't have seed oils in it. So I taught my daughter, 2 of them actually know how to make the corn tortillas. It's so easy, but it takes time, right? Tacos used to be this, what am I going to cook for dinner? I don't have a plan. Oh, great. I can have tacos ready in 5 minutes from now. Well, not anymore, because the tortillas take time. So that was an adjustment I had to make. And it felt hard in the beginning until I realized, hey, you just have to get a little bit better at planning. Your tacos can't be your last minute thing. You're going to have to start those tortillas at least 30 minutes before you want to feed anybody. It's going to take time, but that's okay. And then in the beginning, it was like, this doesn't taste exactly the same. They're harder to eat. They're breaking in half when yeah, great. Guess what? We're healthy. Like, you just have to keep coming back to, do you want to be sick or do you want to be healthy? Because that is, every single choice that is being made here has a direct impact on your health and your life and your well-being, how good of a mom you're going to be able to be because of how much energy and brain capacity you have. Like, these things deeply and truly matter, and it is an assault on humanity and life. Like, those of us who have our eyes opened, the enemy is here to still kill and destroy every area of our life. It is an absolute assault on life. Did you know? I just found out this the other day, and I was not really that surprised. The pesticides and the herbicides that we spray on conventional crops in this country were created by Nazi Germany. Oh yeah, it totally makes sense. Like, what are they doing? Killing and destroying life, having absolutely no respect for life. What do they create? Something that when sprayed on foods, kill and destroy life. Not only all the bugs and the plants that are around it, but also our bodies. So all of those chemicals that get sprayed on fruits and vegetables act as pseudoestrogens in our body. Plastics, act as pseudoestrogens in our body. And what that means is that your body is reading it as estrogen and it's messing up all of the hormone balances in your body. That is not just true or important for women, but it's important for men as well. And especially, I mean, think about a child's developing body. If you are throwing off the hormones that are in their system, that is not good. So we don't do tons and tons of fruits and vegetables because we don't have access to lots of amazing organic things, and they can be more pricey. So as a family with our budget, we've decided to put the good bulk of our food money towards meats, and as often as we can, either pasture raised for the chicken or grass fed for the meats. We actually have a local butcher that we're able to get grass fed meat from. And so I don't care that it costs more money, because inside of that is like all the nutrition that my kids need to sustain a healthy life. And so, you know, yes, that means that I don't get to get convenience foods, which I don't really want anyways, because they're full of junk. And we don't spend as much on fruits and vegetables. So I have, you know, like a friend that has raspberry bushes, and last year she was like, oh, come pick them. That was amazing. I threw those in the freezer. We use those, you know, every once in a while. The kids will actually just eat them frozen, or we'll use them fresh. When we were, or not fresh, we'll use them in smoothies. So the kids will eat them straight from frozen, or we'll use them in smoothies. Last year, we got the opportunity to go blueberry picking out in Pittsburgh by my in-laws, where they don't spray. We picked a ton, threw those in the freezer, canned some, not really healthy. We did that for Christmas presents in pies, but better than having, you know, pesticides sprayed on them. Oh, speaking of grass-fed meat, I have to pause because my husband is home. He just got a ton of grass-fed meat. Now, we don't always do it. Like, he picked up some steaks for the sake of our budget. We were like, you know what? It's still local meat, and meat is still better than all the other things you're going to pick in the store. Like, it's not perfect, and you can't be perfect, and sometimes perfection gets in the way of very good, right? You want to be perfect. You have the ability to be very good, but you want to be perfect. So what you settle for is bad. You make a bad decision and you're just like, who cares, forget it, because they can't be perfect. Okay, you're right. This month we were like, hey, it's not in the budget to get grass-fed ribeyes, but it is in the budget to get conventionally raised from a local place in town. I don't know anything about them. Like, I don't know how they're raised. I just know it's still from our local butcher. And it's still from America, not from China. But here he goes. Let me put that meat in the freezer and I'll be back. Okay, so meat. I'm back with a smile because I'm really trying to bring it down a notch. I would love to be better at communicating these things without so much intensity. I just care so deeply about them. It is really hard. You know, the more knowledge that you have in your brain and you just see the evil behind this, and then you see the people that are suffering from it, and it's just, it's a lot. It's a big responsibility, right? For people to make the choice to not dig the hole and shove their head in it, and to just see what is going on. It takes a lot of courage, right? But you pick your pain. It's like you're either going to go through the pain of facing what is the reality of our food system, what is the reality of the changes you're going to have to make in life to sustain health, you know, how much time you're going to actually have to spend in the kitchen cooking. You're going to have to change, you know, you either go through the pain of that or you go through the pain of sickness and disease. This isn't one of those topics where it's like there's some sort of middle ground. I mean, America has things in their food that other countries have flat out banned because they see how poisonous it is. You know, it's really mind-boggling. But it starts to explain a lot of the struggles that we're going through, you know, the way you're feeling in your own body. And there is hope, because God made your body so miraculous that whatever you're up against, you can heal, you can restore. Is it going to take time? Yes, it's not going to happen overnight. But every time you wake up and you go, you know what, today I'm going to choose to do the best thing that's in front of me, do the right thing. And if that means standing inside this kitchen for more time in one day than I spent the entire month last month, then that's okay. Just do it. It's hard, but it's the right choice. I mean, I'm telling, like, it is a big mental adjustment, right? When you're used to being like kind of healthy foods for your kids that you can just quickly pull and grab and feel pretty good about feeding them, and all of a sudden that whole thing gets disrupted and you realize, like, oh my goodness, I thought that like, I was microwaving vegetables in plastic. Number one, I was microwaving them. Number two, they were inside of plastic. Like, so wrong, right? You have to deal with the mom guilt of being like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that, which takes, you know what, Jesus, I'm doing the best I can. You're going to have to, you know, fill in, which doesn't mean I don't have to try, but it does mean, like, I can't go back and change the past. I'm just going to believe you, Lord, and believe in your power working in my life when I notice something that I have done wrong. So microwaves, they change the actual nutrition molecules inside of your food to something that is completely and totally different than what they initially had. So it's completely disrupting the nutrition within your food anytime you microwave something, on top of the fact that it is adding radiation to your food. So microwaves were invented as some sort of something that they needed to use in the hospital for something, and somehow it got out to like the mainstream world, and it's one of those things where people are like, wait, this is so harmful. How do microwaves exist? And again, you're like, how in the world am I going to not use a microwave? I get it. I had to be there. I had to do that. And then all of a sudden you wake up 3 years later and you're like, oh, I don't even remember microwaves exist. They have no bearing on my life. Every once in a while we use an air fryer if we need to like quickly heat some random thing up. But other than that, we heat things up in the stove or on the stove, and it's just not a problem. But it was in the beginning, and it took a major adjustment. So we don't use microwaves. I'm going to do one more topic for this video, and then we'll move on to the next one because this has probably been pretty long. Let me look at my list. Okay, so I had hinted at water a little bit. Basically, fluoride is in water from most city waters. Fluoride is a known neurotoxin, so that means it crosses into your blood-brain barrier and it destroys, right? It's toxic to your brain. There's studies that come out where IQ is higher in cities where the fluoride is the lowest. It's known to cause brain cancer, and it is a chemical that we get from China, and they would have to pay to dispose of it as a hazardous waste product if we didn't buy it and then put it into our water. When you look at the studies, it is not the factor that's changing anyone's tooth health. Even topically in toothpaste, like I forget, it's been a while since I've researched this, but it's something like the back of your toothpaste container says to call poison control if you swallow any of it. But then the amounts that are in water, and we're just drinking it, so how does that add up? I'm not sure. So my kids have never used fluoride toothpaste. We don't get fluoride treatments when we go to the dentist. And again, it's an area where I had to grow in my courage as a mom, right? Because nobody like a medical professional to make you feel stupid. Well, oh well, I don't really care. I'm gonna be willing to feel stupid for the sake of my kids. And what's really cool is that you grow in your knowledge of why you're making the right choice, right? Like at first I couldn't explain it. I didn't really understand why we were doing all the things in our health. You know, we don't do sealants on my kids' teeth. I did on sort of, not on accident, but like, oh, didn't know enough. So one kid has it on a few teeth, but we don't do sealants on their teeth. If the teeth aren't cleaned properly, you're literally trapping bacteria underneath of the sealants. The sealants are plastic, so then you're putting plastic into your kid's system, and it would interfere with your child's ability to remineralize or repair their teeth if they do get damaged. So just to be clear, so one of the kids had cavities, I said that right, in all four corners of their mouth. We modified their diet for 5 months. I'll put out a whole video on exactly what we did because it was more intense than just kind of basic guidelines, but it was doable. We did it, and her teeth repaired. And that was 2 years ago. This very last visit, I had been watching one spot on her tooth and kind of like, I'm sort of curious about that. At the same time, like, we're human, we're trying the best we can. We have organic chocolate bits that don't have any seed oils in them, because chocolate bits have seed oils. It's like called the Good Life, maybe is the name of the company. I get them at Walmart. And she drinks raw milk and she wants chocolate, and she's my one that has a harder time with the sugar stuff, right? And I wasn't keeping up on her as well. And so here it was again, I'm back in front of a dentist. He's like, oh, she just has a little cavity, we just need to get that filled in. And I was like, okay, that's great, thank you. We're actually not going to do that. Here is my quick story from the past with her. We were able to remineralize her teeth, so we'll keep an eye on it. We'll make sure we're like tightening up on her nutrition. I'm going to go back to, I had given her fermented cod liver oil. Like, we'll go back to doing that, which I've extensively researched. I understand that there was a lot of misinformation out about that, and people are concerned about the fermented cod liver oil. That was like a scandal of sorts. But so anyways, I don't know where I'm going because the kid is crying. Oh, so when I'm sitting in front of this dentist, I was able to very confidently, because I've grown, tell him, hey, here's what we're going to do. This is what we believe, like, and in the most loving fashion, right? Like, I appreciate you. I totally understand. I'm not a dentist. You're the dentist, but hey, here's what we're going to do. Like, you know, being very gracious to this person. They're a human in front of me. And they're not, you know, I'm not warring against flesh and blood, right? And so being respectful and kind to them, while also retaining that this is my kid and I make the choices and I'm in charge. So it went really great, actually. It went so well, so much better than I was expecting. And so I think a lot of people are starting to wake up to these things. They actually asked me, hey, does your kid get a fluoride treatment, instead of me having to tell them right off the bat, like, my child will not have a fluoride treatment. So I really think people are starting to wake up to these things. But our fix, because we don't have a well, is that we take our city water and we put it through a, what's the new name? It's called a Pro 1 filter. It's similar to a Berkey, but we don't have to have an extra filter for fluoride. The 2 filters that we purchase that go with the system take out chlorine, all the other things, as well as fluoride. We could actually take like dirty pond water, apparently, and filter it through this. So I really like the way that tastes. I kind of can be particular with my water, and I think that it tastes great. We've had this system for years. It is an investment up front, but honestly, since being off of bottled water, because we were trying to avoid fluoride, since being off of bottled water for so long, I notice a big difference in inflammation in my body and in just overall how I'm feeling. If I like go out of town and don't have access to the same types of water and have to drink water out of plastic, I can feel it in my whole body, because that is one of the largest ways. It's like the microwave, water, and coffee, you know, like the little Keurigs that you're shoving hot water through plastic, or even just the whole system. Or maybe you're going and getting your coffee out somewhere and it's scalding hot coffee being put into a styrofoam, which is, you know, a type of plastic container that is absolutely going into your coffee, or, you know, and then into whatever you drink. So I avoid drinking from plastic at all costs, not just for the fluoride that's in, I mean, they have fluoride added in some of the waters in the stores, but so Pro 1 filter. I'll put, like, I don't know about links. I don't know. I'll try and figure stuff out in the show notes so that you can remember all the specific recommendations that I've made. I would just encourage you to do your own research, because honestly, it's really out there anymore. As long as you're being careful of the source, you know, and who you're listening to, Jesus will guide you to the truth. And I don't have it all figured out. So I'm not like saying like Jesus will guide you to everything that I'm saying, because I don't have all the truth. But I feel so passionately about this. And a lot of you asked, because I'll make references to our healthy lifestyle or to the kind of diet that we eat, but I've never really gotten on and given specifics. So this was just touching on a few of the topics. And in a future video, I will just lay out exactly the kinds of foods that we eat and don't eat. But I think that it's really helpful to know the whys behind a lot of things. You know, for me, every time I want to be lax in what we're doing in our diets, it's like I know that that's a sign that I need to go and reinforce my knowledge. So I'll go and listen to another podcast where someone is talking about how corrupt the food system is. You know, just for example, like the people that fund our research are the big food and drug companies. And so basically what they're able to do is say like, hey, you better find the right results that support people continuing to eat our food or our toxic chemicals or take our medications, because if you don't, then we're not going to continue to fund you. And it really is a sad thing when you look at every large entity that makes the decisions based on our health, and how most of the people that sit on the board, if not all of them, have a conflict of interest. Okay, I came up with an example. The people who make the guidelines, the USDA guidelines, I get all the, it's a lot, okay? I can't keep track of all the corruption. But the people who make the guidelines of what we should eat in our food pyramid sit and get paid for, they sit on the boards and they're employed by the food company. So how does that even happen? Like, you work for this specific ultra processed food company, and then you also work for creating the guidelines of what is going to be a healthy American diet. How does that even work? How does that even work? Or you're doing this research for heart disease. That's one of the most corrupt situations. And you are being paid by the people who make blood pressure medication. I'll give you a good example of how they're even able to, after the science is figured out, that is often corrupt science, they're able to then distort it even further. They'll tell you that, like, hey, you need to go on blood pressure medication, and here's the study. It will decrease your risk of a heart attack by 50%. That's what they say to you. This blood pressure medication will decrease your risk by 50%. What did the study, that's not a lie, but what the study actually showed is that in the study group of people, it was something like 0.01% of people had a heart attack. Okay, so that's like no one. And then if they were on the medication, 0.005% of people did not have a heart attack. So like out of not even one whole human, if you weren't on medication, like it's just, that's not. So if this encouraged you, if you learned something new, give it a thumbs up. I hope that it blessed you. I hope that at least it made you feel like you're not alone in this, and that Jesus is going to continue to bring you the truth as you honor the truth that he's already shown you. And it is a hard transition, but it is so worthy. It is so worth it. And so we just need to all accept that as the truth and the reality, and eat fruits and vegetables that are organic when we can, and eat a whole bunch of meat, and don't have processed foods as often as we can, and get up and do that all over again. So love you guys. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Until next time.